Good morning students. In today's lecture we will be talking about log based recovery, we will be talking about the concept of checkpoints, and we will be talking about deadlock handling in database management system. So, basically what happens whenever we are talking about a database, that can be a centralized database that is there on a particular system, or it can be a distributed database that is distributed overall over a big network. In both the cases there is a chance of failure, right. We can have internal failures that are internal to the transactions, right, internal to the systems on which the transaction is getting executed. We can have failures that are on a distributed network, that some system is going down, a particular site is going down and data is not like reachable or something. So, in that case we need to go for recovery, and the most important type of recovery is the log based recovery that we will be talking about, followed by the deadlock handling that we have also gone through previously a little bit, but in detail we will be doing in this particular lecture. To start with, we will start with the concept of recovery. It says that a failure would leave the database in a suspect state. That means, whenever a failure takes place, we have already seen many examples that in between when a failure takes place, the database is left in a inconsistent state. So, whenever a failure takes place, a database system is left in a suspect state. Recovery implies restoring the database after a failure, right, to the safe state that it so that it assumes to be in a consistent state. That means, when a failure is taking place, the database is taken back to a safe condition where it was before the transaction started or before the failure took place, right. So, the recovery is made possible by the log of updates maintained in the system log file on a single non volatile storage. So, whenever updates are made, whenever changes are made, so all the information is stored on a non volatile storage, on a disk or any type of non volatile storage, and this log file is used to bring back the consistency of the database in case of a failure. So, you can see over here we are taking an example that we want to transfer amount 1000 from account 100 to account 200. So, the account number, something like the account number has been specified in this question, that we are having account number 100 and account number 200, right, and we are trying to transfer 1000 rupees from first account to the second account. So, we begin with the transaction, right. So, over here you can see in the example that we are writing the schema. The schema of account is your account number, branch name and balance, right, and you can see this is in terms of a SQL statement that we have written, not just random transactional statements of combination of reads and writes. So, over here you can see that we are having a SQL statement for this particular example. So, it says update account, set balance of balance equal to 1000, that is we are detecting where the account number is 100, right. First part of the transaction done, we took out the money from account number 100. Next, update account, balance is equal to balance plus 1000, right, where the account number is 200, and then commit. What is happening over here? You can see that the transaction is in two parts, right. Transaction A is taking the first part of transaction is taking amount, taking out of the amount from account 100, and the second part is putting that amount into account number 200, and then we finally have a commit statement which says that the final update has been made into the database. If this transaction gets executed completely, there is no problem at all. But if there is a failure in between, let us say at this point a system failure took place, a hardware crash was there, or any type of system failure was there. So, what will happen? The amount has been deducted from account 100, but it is not updated into account 200. In that case, what will happen? The database will go into a inconsistent state, right. So, we have the recovery process for this particular scenario, and how recovery takes place, let us go into the details of it. Now, the previous example, right, involves to update to the relation account, right. So, it is the relation, the name of the relation is account, we can say the name of the table is account, or the name of that particular entity is account, right. So, we are using a term relation, right. So, in the previous example, we are having two updates in the relation account. Temporarily, the database would be in inconsistent state, because we are making changes. We, as soon as we took out 1000 rupees from the first account, and we did not post it into the second account. So, till then the database goes into a inconsistent state. So, the database would be in inconsistent state when one update has been performed and the other one is still to be performed. That means, we have made the changes in one part and the second part is still remaining, or it is still to be done. So, till then the database remains in a inconsistent state, right. During this period, the total balance at the branch would be defected by 1000 rupees. So, the total amount of the total cash or the total amount that is there in that particular branch will have a difference of 1000 rupees, because 1000 rupees has been taken out from account A, but it has not been placed in account B, right. But at the end of the transaction, the total amount will tally. So, at the end of the transaction, if it commits properly, the complete amount will tally. So, we can state that a transaction transforms the database from one consistent state to another consistent state without necessarily preserving the consistency at all intermediate states. So, it is taking the database from one consistent state to another consistent state, but it is not necessary that at all the intermediate states the consistency of the database is maintained. The database may lose the consistency in between, that is possible. Now, where is the problem? Now, the problem comes. Suppose the system fails between the two updates, that is, the first update is executed, but not the second. Then the database would be left in an inconsistent state. To obviate this situation, transaction should either execute in its complete condition, in its entirely, or not at all. That means, the execution should be executed entirely, or it should not be executed at all. So, the transaction, if we are having any such type of failures, so what we need to see, that whether the transaction has been executed completely or not, right. So, in that case, what will happen? We say that either the transaction should be complete or it should not have taken place at all. That means, we need to recover it back to the situation where we feel there was no transaction at all. So, if a transaction executes some of the updates and then a failure occurs before the transaction reaches its planned termination, then the complete updates must be undone, and that is known as rollback that we have seen in the previous slides. The system component that provides the atomicity to the transaction processing is called transaction manager. Now, when we will be talking about such type of recovery, we come to know about a component which is the transaction manager, and this transaction manager takes place comes into the existence when any type of rollback takes place, and this type of rollback is with the help of recovery files, with the help of log files that are maintained by the transaction manager. So, this is the basic concept of recovery. Now, when we talk about the type of transactions, there are mainly two type of transactions that we will be talking about. The first set of transaction is known as the commit transaction. This operation signals a successful end of the transaction. So, whenever the transaction is successfully ending, it is a commit transaction. Then we have a rollback transaction. This operation signals a unsuccessful end of the transaction, right. So, whenever a problem takes place or any type of failure is there, we say that we are ending up into a rollback transaction. Now, for the rollback transaction, what is required? We need a log system. Whenever we are talking about recovery, rollbacks, every condition, we require a log system where some information is stored, right. Now, when we talk about the log system, a log system or a log is maintained in two portions, right. So, whenever we will be talking about these type of log files, keep in mind that these log files are stored in two portions. The first one, a active or a online log. Now, what is a active or a online log? Which is maintained on the online disk. This log is used for minor recovery during normal execution, right. Active or online log is a log that is maintained online. It is not maintained or it is not stored on some non-volatile storage. It is maintained online, and it is used in case of very minor recoveries if you are losing a tuple or the consistency of one particular tuple. So, in that case we can use this log file, and we use it usually during normal operations, not in crucial operations, right. The second type of log files is known as the archive or offline log. Now, this is a more powerful log file, right, which is maintained on a tape, that is a non-volatile storage. It is maintained on a tape. The offline log maintains the record of updates since the last backup. So, whenever we are talking about the offline log, it is not always updated, it is not updated at regular intervals. So, whenever you have taken the last backup, you will have a offline log for that last backup, right, which are used to restore the system in case of major failures. And this type of backup or this type of log file is used when there is a major problem, a major failure. In that case, what do? We go back to the log files of the last backup that we have made. So, these are the log files, these are the log files, how the log files are maintained in two portions. Getting back to recovery, now what is a transaction recovery, right. The transaction recovery says that a transaction begins with successful execution of a begin transaction statement, that is the begin transaction statement shows the starting of the transaction and ends with a successful execution of a commit or a rollback statement. So, if the transaction has completed everything, it will have a commit. If the transaction has gone for some failure, it will execute a rollback statement. Thus, a commit establishes a commit point, right. Whenever we have a commit statement getting executed, it establishes a commit point at which database is in the state of consistency. So, commit point is the point where the database is in its consistency state, right. A rollback of the database to the previous commit point at which again the database was in a state of consistency. And when we talk about the rollback, a rollback is when executed, whenever a rollback is executed, it is like to go back to the last state of consistency, right. Now, when a commit point is established, when do we establish a commit point? There are two conditions under which we establish a commit point. The first is all the updates made by the program since the previous commit point are committed, that is, are made permanent. That means, all the updates that were required by the program since the previous commit, matlab after the previous commit that was done, are committed, right. That means, they are successfully done and they are made permanent into the database. In that case, we will say that the transaction has entered into a new commit point. All the database pointers and all the tuples logs are released, right. So, on a commit point, all the database logs that we have asked for and all the logs that are there on the tuples have been released. So, this is the basic idea behind transaction recovery, right. Now, what is system recovery? When we talk about system recovery, we have two types of recoveries. We have the local recovery and the global recovery. When do we have a local recovery? We have a local recovery when we are having a local failure, a global recovery when we are having a global failure, right. So, a local failure affects only the transaction during the execution of which the failure has occurred, and a global failure affects the transaction that may be in progress at the time of failure. Such failures are again broadly classified into system failure and media failure. Now, what is a system failure? This affects all transactions currently in progress, but does not physically damage the database. This failure is called soft crash, right. That means, there is no physical damage. The second one is known as media failure and it is a hard crash that we call, right. It causes damage to the database or to some portion of it and affects those transactions currently using that portion of the database, right. A media failure is also called a hard crash and the database gets affected due to such type of media failure. Now, when we are talking about the log files, we need to know the modes of data update. So, the first mode of data update is the immediate update. Now, what is an immediate update? It says when a active transaction T I updates a data item Q, the update is immediately reflected into the database even before T I has committed. So, the changes are made before T I has committed and the changes are made directly into the database. In this case, what happens? In this case, there will be requirement of undoing the updates of those transactions which has failed before the commit point has reached. So, we need to roll back or undo all those transactions. Another limitation of this mode of update is that for each update the system has to perform a disk write. This is a very big disadvantage. For each update it has to make a disk write and that too on sector which may be widely separated, right. It may be at different location. This involves significant overhead of disk seek time, right. Now, how to undo the updates in case of a rollback? The system maintains a log that we are talking about, or a journal of all updates on the disk, which contains details of all the updates. The pre-update and post-update values of the updated objects are recorded in the log file as follows. So, you can see this is how we maintain. We have the log T1 Q old value, new value. This implies that transaction T I has updated the data item Q from the old value to its new value, right. Now, this is when we go for a rollback, when we go for a redone. During system failure, content of the main memory, that is database buffers, are lost. The precise state of the transaction where we are in progress at the time of failure will no longer be known. Such transaction will need to be rolled back when the system is restarted after the failure. There may be some transactions which might have already committed prior to the system failure, but not managed to their update transferred from database buffer to the physical database. Such transaction will need to be redone. So, this tells you when you need to roll back and when you need to redo it, right. Which failed transaction to be undone and which transaction to be redone, right. So, this we have already seen that we will create checkpoints, right. During the normal operation, the system keeps tracking checkpoints at pre-specified regular intervals or when prescribed number of entities have been made into the log. Taking a checkpoint means, what does taking checkpoint means? Physically writing, force writing the content on the database buffer into the physical database, and physically writing a special checkpoint record into the physical non-volatile log. The checkpoint record gives a list of transactions that were in progress at the time of the checkpoint, right. Now, let us come to deadlock handling. Now, we know that when we are talking about deadlocks in databases or in processes, there are 4 conditions that need to be maintained for creating a deadlock. The first condition is mutual exclusion, where only one transaction can use a data set at a time. Second is hold and wait, where one transaction is holding a set of resources and it is waiting for the next set of resources. In that case, we have hold and wait. We have condition of no preemption, that when one transaction is holding a set of resources, so no other transaction is allowed to preempt it or stop it in between. And cyclic wait, when we have a sequence of transactions which are waiting for each other in a cycle to release the resources. So, under these conditions we can have deadlocks, right. So, this is how deadlocks takes place and how we can prevent deadlocks, right. So, the deadlocks can be prevented by imposing some restrictions on the sequences in which a given set of data items can be accessed by a transaction. One such algorithm is explained below, which is the graph based algorithm to lock resources, right. And how does it work? It works, a graph is drawn, a node, the condition is that a node will have only one parent. A transaction can lock data items in the following sequence. That means, the first lock would be obtained on the node. Any subsequent locks can be obtained on a node whose parent is currently locked by the transactions, right. We will take an example and see how this is actually done. So, over here you can see this is a graph which on this graph it says that the transaction T I needs to access data items F, E and B, F, E and B, right. So, this is the sequence in which we have to obtain the locks and release the locks to get B, E and F. So, if we want to lock F, first we have to lock A, then we have to lock C and then we can lock F and use it. Then after that we have to release F release C, lock B, lock E, and then use E and then release it in the same sequence. So, this is how we can go for prevention. Detection and recovery, we have the same method which is known as the wait for graph, right, and the wait for graph we can see that whenever we are making a arrow like this, this shows that process or transaction T2 is waiting for transaction T1 to release the resources. Similarly, this arrow also shows that transaction T3 is waiting for transaction T1 to release the resources. And if there is a cycle in between, then there is a deadlock, otherwise the system is not in deadlock. Now, let us come to the last part of it, deadlock recovery. Now, deadlock recovery, whenever there is a deadlock, we need to recover from that particular state. So, what happens? We need to roll back many transactions, but whom to roll back? There are so many transactions. So, there are certain criteria based on which we are going to select our victim for rollback. The first condition is the amount of work already completed by the transaction. So, the transaction which has completed the maximum amount of its work is not victimized, right. The amount of work yet to be completed. So, how much percentage of work is left out for each transaction? So, the transaction which is left out with the maximum amount of work is victimized first. And lastly, the number of resources locked by the transaction. So, the transaction which is locking the maximum number of resources will be victimized first. So, in this condition, these condition tells you that which are the transactions which should be victimized, so that a proper rollback can take place and the loss of work is minimized, right. Now, when we talk about the rollback, the select transaction, how to roll back the selected transaction. It is done, how to roll back the selected transaction? It is done with the help of log files, right. The data items modified by this transaction will be reverted back to their old values. Also, the data items currently locked by their transaction will be unlocked. So, the other transactions waiting which are awaiting lock on that particular data item will be able to proceed and the deadlock will be broken. So, this is how we go for the rollback of selected transaction. The third condition can be restart the rollback transaction. Once the deadlock is broken, the rollback transaction is restarted, right. And what are the implication of deadlock recovery? The work already performed by the rolled back transaction is undone. In fact, undergoing it in it needs a lot of more work that is to be executed. So, the system throughput is affected and many a time the transaction, because of this continuous rollback, it also goes for starvation. So, this is about deadlock recovery. Thank you so much.